I absolutely love the guitar. I love the guitar.
I love the intro. I'm sitting there vibing out during the whole thing.
Right, right. It gets you super excited. It makes you feel real good inside. It makes me feel good inside. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Long. Welcome back to episode 86. 86. Ain't that right, Ben? I'm losing track of count. You got to keep me on. You got to keep me on point here. I get too excited.
It's all right. We're getting close to 100. That's all
that matters. Close. I'm getting wicked excited. We're here with Depth Taxes and Sports. We have the full crew back here today. Mr. Ben Holloway, Miss Marissa Tickney, the Queen of DTS, and Gary Legend. Sir, how you doing? What does that shirt say?
Not today.
Not today. You can always count on Mr. Gary Legend to give us something a little bit exciting.
You can put that towards the Celtics. Not today.
Right? We got so much to discuss on that. Boy, do we have so much. So tonight we're going to be discussing a lot of NHL, NBA playoffs, the NBA finals. I'm really excited for that. We're going to have a little bit of sports trivia. And then back by popular demand, some more sporting what-ifs. And, man, there's so many different things that we could talk about here. There's so many different exciting sports, but these NHL conference finals, reactions, as well as the Stanley Cup, and as well as who wins. And Ben, when I had our friend back on the special episode over the weekend, we talked about the Florida Panthers and then playing the Las Vegas Knights, and we really think about it. This is actually a very close matchup. One of the closest matchups based on when I was reading something from The Athletic, they have Vegas 52% chance to the Panthers 48%, and this is one of the closest matchups over the last decade, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I know we gave a lot. You guys, first off, Evan did a fantastic job. Jeff, you were okay. I'm just kidding. That episode was great, and I know we gave a lot of love to the Panthers, but I'm not done. It's just so January 1st comes around. There's 32 teams. They were 23rd, under 500, 16 and 18, 4 ties, which makes their run even more incredible. You guys said it, and it's been said a million times by now, but 11 out of the last 12 playoff games they've won, and that includes 3 straight elimination games against the best regular season team ever, Boston Bruins. So their run has been incredible, and what is sort of ironic about Vegas is their coach was the Boston Bruins coach last year. Let me get the name right. Bruce Cassidy. He's coach of the Bruins last year. Vegas hires him. Vegas is in the Stanley Cup. Hard to say they made the wrong choice. One last thing on Vegas. So they have 16 players who have scored at least 1 goal in the playoffs. The last 3 Stanley Cup winners all had 16 or more. And then going further back, there's actually 18 and 20, 4 and 5 years ago. But obviously a very balanced team, and both teams are hot. It should be a good series. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and Marissa, we sorry about your Dallas Stars. They made a little bit of a comeback, but then Vegas put a little beat down 6-0, and they're like, no, we're not going to let this one go. From my end, this is just you just can't get more of an even matchup, Marissa.
It's going to be a great matchup. I didn't see a whole lot of hockey this postseason, but the games that I did pay attention to, thank you, Stars, for embarrassing yourselves last night. The only thing I will say about that is I wish that, even though that Jamie Benn came back from his 2-game suspension, I wish they would have just left the starters alone. The starters figured it out those 2 games that they won without him. To have him come back and people were hyped and excited about it. And maybe it was just me and I just threw this out there before the game. I said, watch it be all over again, that Vegas blows this up and it becomes 3-0 automatically very quickly. Sorry, Dallas. It ended up being that way. It was an ugly game, but Vegas found a way to win it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how effective both of these teams going to be. I don't know if it is the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat just got on a conference call and just pumped each other up and had some kind of big powwow, because I mean that state, not any involving politics or anything, but that state for some reason has a lot to celebrate when it comes to their basketball and their hockey teams. I don't know what kind of magic mojo that they got, or they just got some, secret stuff, a whole case of it from, the original Space Jam. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be a good series.
Yeah, and Evan, who we had on, said if Bob can keep playing lights out, Vegas will be in for a tough one. And you think about
I agree.
Bobrovsky, he's a 94% goal save percentage. When you have a goalkeeper that's playing at a very high level, that team is going to be very hard to stop. Mm-hmm. My only thing is that with this game is that when you look at the teams by the numbers, right? Vegas has an offensive rating of plus 36. Florida has plus 65. Vegas defensive rating is plus 28. Florida defensive rating is -2. Vegas net plus rating is 59 versus Florida Panthers at plus 64. So there's a little bit of disparaging numbers, but when you look at it in totality, to your point, Ben, Vegas has a very balanced type of attack versus I feel with Florida, it's been hopefully, Evan, you're watching this. I'm going to say this guy's name correctly. Tkachuk. Did I say it right? I think I did.
Keith Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk. Keith Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk has been playing lights out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Keith
all these names I'm butchering.
Yes.
I am so sorry, guys. I'm getting
Matthew Tkachuk. That fun fact, went to the same school in high school as Jason Tatum.
What?
There you go. Look at the queen dropping knowledge over
there. There we go. We love it. The queen of DTS, everybody.
Hey, Jeff, real quick. One thing to possibly watch is 16 teams made the playoffs, same as NBA. Vegas is number 15, obviously not good, penalty kill. So that could be something that comes back to bite them. 15th on the penalty kill. That's pretty bad. So that, who knows, could be a big factor, might not be.
Yeah, I just want to see competitive. I just want to see a competitive champion. I just want to see a competitive game. I mean, Vegas is a little bit favorite, but I would not be surprised if Florida's able to pull it off. I mean, you think about Colorado, they were most certainly the favorite going in. You think about Tampa Bay, they were definitely the favorite. So I'm definitely looking forward to a very, very, very good one. So anyway, enough with the hockey. It was always good to be able to talk about that. But let's get to some of these NBA conference finals.
Let's make our picks.
Oh, your picks. That's right. See, Ben, you're always there to keep me.
Vegas in 6.
That's funny. That's why I got 2.
And Gary, you got Vegas in 6. You know what? I'm going to go Florida. I think Florida's going to pull it off.
All right.
I think they're playing hot. I think they're going to do it. So we're going to see how these picks turn out. And we'll definitely come back and definitely keep how these playoffs are going. So NBA Conference Finals recaps and reactions. This one, Gary, I know you're so excited to really get into this one. Man, there was so much. There was just this Boston game, this Boston series. They played down to their competition, and they only have themselves to blame. I like the adjustments that they're able to make, but they only have themselves to blame because they were clearly the better team, and the better team lost. That's all I'm going to say here.
Mm-hmm. Listen, they played around with their food all playoffs long, and finally it came back to bite them. We've been talking about it the entire postseason. They have played down to everybody. The fact that it took them 6 games to knock off Atlanta should have been a telltale sign that something wasn't all the way right. Philly in 7, okay. I can respect that because that was the key. That was a 2 versus 3. I can respect that match. Respect that going the full 7. But this wasn't everybody saw what Miami was bringing. Mm-hmm. Butler won games on 5 of 21 shooting and just pure will, pure heart, and being able to find the right teammate at the right time. That's where Miami succeeds, where Boston failed there. And then you go into game 7, you go into last night, first play of the game, Jason Tatum hurts his ankle. He's clearly hobbled. He's not going to leave the game, but clearly you were not going to get the ace performance from your star player. You couldn't. So then you expect Jaylen Brown to step up. 8 turnovers?
More turnovers in a bakery. He was like 2 turnovers away from having all kinds of property and bakeries on that court. It was pathetic.
It was scary, you know. And then you look at on the Miami side, Caleb Martin has kind of just stepped into the Tyler Hero role just seamlessly. And this is a team of just sheer will. Like there's not anybody besides Jimmy Butler that's all the way like super talented on that team. But they just have that cohesiveness, and they got a hell of a coach in Erik Spoelstra, just that literally willed them to this point. And I mean, hell, I know we're going to talk about the finals in a minute, but like, I know most people look at Miami and Denver and go, okay, clearly somebody was playing NBA 2K and Sim the whole season to get to this point. But this is the matchup between. I really think this was going to be the most entertaining matchup of the finals that you could get. So,
yeah, I don't know, but Ben, I know you want to touch on Denver here. I mean, it's just Boston was just completely disappointing. And as a Duke fan, obviously, I wanted Tatum to do well. But I don't want to put this all on Mazzulla because only the coaching can be but so much, and coaching is very, very, very important. But just the lack of urgency. It's just the urgency that kills us. And Gary, when you were talking about the 6 game, when it took 6 games against Atlanta, that could have gone to a game 7 because, as you said, it was tied 1-13.
It should have, really.
It was tied 1-13, and it took a late run for them to be able to finish that off. But then go ahead and then Marissa.
Yeah, so he talked about Caleb Martin. I can't let this go by. So Caleb Martin versus Jaylen Brown. I'm going to go the whole series. This is arguably one of the biggest reasons Miami won, just these two. Points per game, basically even, 19.3 for Martin, 19 for Jaylen Brown. Rebounds the same, 6.4, 6.1. But field goal percentage and threes percentage, 60% field goal for Caleb Martin, 42% Jaylen Brown. On 3-pointers, 49% for Caleb Martin, 16% Jaylen Brown. Free throws, a pretty big disparity as well, 88% for Martin, 67% for Jaylen Brown. Like, that's your second best player that got outplayed by, and I know he's doing great, but it's an undrafted player. First round pick, second best player, Caleb Martin outplays Jaylen Brown. It's one of the biggest reasons Miami has gone on. So,
I mean, facts. And Marissa, like, we're also talking about. I just want to throw this question to you real quick, and then feel free to give your spiel. Do you pay Jaylen Brown that big contract money?
That's tough.
You look at the numbers. He's due for a big payday. Do you pay him that money?
Me and her literally had the same exact reaction. Like,
I mean,
I'm gonna.
What are the benefits of paying him this big time money? When you look back at what Ben just said, what we all witnessed, I literally wanted to go to Home Depot, go to aisle 6, go get some Stickum, and go and send it to him somehow not overnight it, but send it 1 hour, pay all the expenses for it, have him put it on his hands so that he could stop turning the ball over. That's how frustrating it was to watch. And I know Boston Celtics fans, and I got a lot of them that were blowing me up in the chat, and those that were I was seeing on social media that were just so frustrated, not just this series, but we go back and talk about the Atlanta series, how he just could not hold on to the ball for some reason. It would bounce off the player, bounce off his shoe, bounce off somewhere in the air, and somehow he would just turn it over, right? So that I don't know about him getting the bag. If we're going to reward him with the bag, some sacrifices have to be made on that team in order for them to throw the bag, and that is going to be their solid investment. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to be that 1-2 tandem. I mean, if that's the route that Boston's going to go, so be it. But they got to look at the long run. How many almost should have beens, could have beens, we were just so close to's are you going to have to be that contender team, to be taken for real, to get to the NBA finals, to get that championship?
Yeah.
Do you
And,
put that investment into that risk? How much reward are you going to get?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. And I tweeted like the other day, I said, this is the best roster that Boston has had. I mean, can we agree, all three of us, Gary, can we all agree that this is the best team assembled of talent that they've had since the 2008 championship?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You make the NBA Finals last year, and you add the sixth man of the year, and you literally lost nothing.
But here's the thing they'll say to this, Ben, if you'll answer this. Yes, they made the NBA Finals, but what was the difference maker of the NBA Finals last year versus this year? The coaching.
Yeah.
I mean,
real quick, Jeff, to answer your question as far as does Jaylen Brown deserve the money, I refer you back to my shirt.
It's all about the reward. How much reward are you going to get out of this? And I want to finish the question that you did ask me about what we all saw last night. The difference maker to me was when Jason Tatum rolled his ankle. He even said in the post conference he was a shell of himself, that he could not be that key contributor that was. So when I was on my nighttime program, I had talked to a guest that I had on there, and I said, if Jason Tatum and Jimmy Buckets could not be that person to get that high scoring, to get hot, who is going to be that person that's going to be like, I got your back, I got the hot hand, I'm going to do whatever we can to will to win. We saw shadows of Jaylen Brown because he couldn't hold on to the ball. So who ended up getting hot on the Heat side? Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson. And if they do not, and I know we're going to talk about it soon, if they do not throw, depending on whatever the outcome is for Miami Heat, whether they win it or don't, they better doggone throw the bag at Caleb Martin because he deserves it.
Facts. And Ben, I know that you had some things in this on some other parts of these finals.
Side note, I know the Hornets are punching air right now, releasing them. Just saying.
But Marissa, just real quick. I mean, hindsight's 2020. It's like when people are saying, well, the Heat were. It's like saying that Golden State should have drafted LaMelo Ball over Wiseman, right?
Wiseman.
Like you just, that's the thing in sports. It's always hindsight. You think about, the Bears could have drafted Pat Mahomes. Like you just don't know how these things are going to turn out. But I do agree also at the same time, it does kind of suck a little.
The bigger chip, because if we all watched him in Nevada, that he could play. It all comes down again to coaching, and I think when he got waived and that opportunity came with the Miami Heat, I think they released that dog out of him, and gradually we saw it. And in this game last night and the previous night, it came at the perfect opportune time.
Thanks. Well, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so I'm the numbers guy, right?
That's why I didn't research it. That's all you.
Got to do it. So this was the same Eastern Conference Finals as last year. Both went 7 games, so that's 14 games. The home team won 3 of the 14 games. That's insane. The home court advantage clearly has not existed for either in both of these finals. And then, speaking of home court, Boston Garden, now it's the TD Garden, whatever it is, still used to be huge home court advantage. These last 2 years, 11 and 12 was their record in the playoffs. So clearly not a home court. And then lastly, just to go back to Game 7 on one thing, they were horrible from 3 as a whole, but 3 of their starters, technically Jaylen Brown is listed as a guard, as a forward, whatever, he's a guard. So 3 starting guards, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. 4 threes they made, they took 24.
I think we can throw away the narrative, though.
How are you supposed to win?
I think what you said, Ben, the home court. I think we can throw away the narrative, guys. That home court, it is an advantage. It's the team that wants it the most. It's the team that is prepared, that is mentally ready, that is going to show up. It's not, I mean, we've seen it in the past several years where it's not about the home court anymore. There'll be a team that will get a sweep, that will be lucky, but we're seeing very few amount of sweeps and more so of game 1, game 2, either being a split or that road team going in and just taking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Gary, it's like one of those things where it's like we always talk about the changing of the guard in sports. It's just like there's just certain type of seismic climatic shifts. And Marissa, you make a very good point. Are we seeing that now, Gary, with the home court situation?
I think it's cyclical. I think it goes back in time frame like this probably happened in previous years where it's like not having home court, like it didn't matter. Like if your team you look at some of those Celtics teams in the 60s, like admittedly, yes, they were the best team in the NBA, but they didn't always have home court advantage, and it didn't matter. If you have a better product, if you have a better team to put out on the floor, no, it shouldn't matter. You look at the Bulls championships. Yes, they won. It was split. They won championships. 3 of them were at home in 92, 96, 97, but 91, 93, and 98, arguably 93 and 98, 2 of the hardest to win for them, were done on the road in environments like in 93 in Phoenix, where Phoenix clearly had the best home court in the league. It was a new arena. It was loud. It was boisterous, and you had a star in Charles Barkley there. Similarly, like you just look at you look at 98, you had Stockton Malone. Like they had Utah, that rabid fan base, because, I mean, no offense, that's what they have in Utah. But like you look at these teams and you look at their home court advantage, and what did it get them? Nothing. Because if the better product is on the other side, and there's nothing you can do about it. Last night was a bit of an anomaly because, yes, the Celtics on paper are a better roster than the Miami Heat, but the Miami Heat were far hungrier.
Yeah, and sorry, Jeff. I was just going to say, forget the numbers. The eye test as far as Boston on offense, so many possessions where you're like, what are you doing? Just so dumb. Like, give credit to Miami, of course, they won the game, but like so many offensive possessions by the Celtics, you're just like, what are you doing? And then there's 3 seconds on the shot clock. They have to hoist some type of 3. Like, just really, to be honest, really dumb offense. Like, not utilizing the skill set of your players. Like, just, yeah, I don't know. The eye test was like they just wasted so many possessions.
Yeah. And, and it's I don't know. It's Boston. Boston has a lot of decisions to make. I don't know if necessarily firing Joe Mazzulla is the right move. It'll definitely be very interesting to watch. I just want to do a quick poll. Should Joe Mazzulla stay on as head coach? Marissa, you first.
I absolutely agree. He should stay on.
Why is that? I'm curious. I just want to pick your brain.
I talked about this last night. Had he been eliminated with the Atlanta series, I would have been said, oh, no, kick rocks, bring back, a coach that's experienced possibly. But at this time, we did not know what was going to be happening with Doc Rivers. I definitely would have told him that he wasn't ready and it was over his head. For him to say that he was over his head, what was it, game 3 at the end of it, at the post conference? I thought that was very bold, but I was like, that is career suicide. He's done. Oh my God, they're going to get swept. And for them to come back 3 straight games after you were on the brink of elimination. I said that he's earned his way to keep it. The thing that he's going to need to prove once all is said and done, I mean, now they got plenty of time and they're on vacation in Cancun or wherever, is for him to go before the powers that be, Brad Stevens and them, and go back to what he said on game 3 at the end of that game and said that he lost the locker room. The question that the powers that be need to ask him is, are you confident enough going into the next season? Do we have the right guy that's not going to lose the locker room going into? Because if you go on a losing tangent, that's going to let us know that nobody was buying what you're selling. We're taking this risk. We're bringing you back. Are the guys on board of what you've got to say to them? Are the ones that are going to keep? Are we the ones that will stay with this team, because obviously they're going to make some changes, are they going to continually buy what you're selling going into next season?
I'm going to tell you what, Nick, I'll throw it to you. He has he bought himself a little bit of capital. But if they start off losing, if they start off like 4-10 or
he's
like
gone
5-12, he's out of there. Like he's like he has to start off stronger. What are your thoughts? And then I'll go toss it to you, Ben.
I mean, you kind of took my points from me right then and there. That was it's fine. But you're absolutely right. Like, he has no leash. Like, there are some people that you give them a longer leash. That leash is non-existent. It's pretty much, you must prove, like you said, like, at first my answer was going to be yes, unless you can find somebody that can win that locker room immediately, because there are still some names still out there that could win that locker room. I think we all can come to the same conclusion, same agreement that excluding Game 6, which was basically a miracle by Derek White at the end there, it was Boston's talent that won them games 4 and 5. Like, it wasn't the coaching. It was the blowout that happened in Game 5 was pure talent. That was just like, we're better than you. Like I said at the beginning of this, we're on paper, they're a better roster, and they showed it in that game. Like, that's talent. That wasn't coaching. So because of that, he's basically has the only thing that he could have done to really give him any kind of long leash would have been to win a championship. At this point, he really is kind of the placeholder. If you can see that there's a better talent out there that can win the locker room, Joe Mazzulla may not be coach when the 23-24 season starts. But if they really do believe, like, okay, let's give him a shot, he has one shot.
Yeah.
A poor start to the season, he's gone, and they're going to run with whoever is the assistant coach until they can go into the next season's coaching market and see who they can pluck out from someplace else. So this is an interesting time for them. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And just going back real quick to Jaylen Brown, you got to understand, Jason Tatum's going to get $300 million. So now, are you going to be willing to give Jaylen Brown $300 million? And then what does that make your roster look like when clearly something, while they can play well together, it has not proven to be successful?
They're also like, their chemistry is weird. I know they're very similar players, and they obviously have had a lot of success to make conference finals and stuff, but watching it they haven't figured it out. They've been like 6 seasons together. If they haven't figured out how to fully play with each other, fully have that chemistry, it ain't gonna happen.
They're almost
6 years.
They're almost doing it in spite of one another versus because of one another.
Yeah, like the chemistry is just weird, man.
Oh, you're not playing well? Okay, I guess I'll play well, or maybe not. Who knows? Like, there's a little bit of a wishy-washiness with them that I'm like, you want to see them to be successful with that roster. They should have an 18th banner in Boston, but they don't.
Yeah, and that's just a very unfortunate thing. But anyway, we can, just for the sake of time purposes, I know we want to get to what else. We still have trivia, and I definitely want to spend a little bit of time talking about this NBA playoff matchup. Look, straight up from X's and O's, here's what I'm going to say. In order for Miami, Marissa, for them to be able to win this series, Joker is going to have to – they're going to have to turn him into a 40-point scorer. That's it. Just a straight 40-point scorer. He can't go off and averaging 25 points – 12 assists, and like 11 rebounds, because he's going to get everyone else involved. He's too good. You're not going to be able to stop him. In order for them to do that, he scores 40 points. They shut everyone else down. Murray's going to be a little bit challenging, but I think they can. You don't double him. You just let him just go off, and you shut down everybody else, and Miami might just have a chance, Marissa.
Well, might is to have the chance if what we saw last night happen, and that is when Jimmy Butler wasn't doing all the scoring, Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin showed up. The help needs to show up for Miami to have some kind of chance in this series, because as you all know, Denver is loaded. I mean, you have, KCP, you have Jokic, you have Murray, you have Aaron Gordon, you have Michael Porter Jr. I mean, they're loaded. How this team again, and I got to give Miami credit, and I said this on the previous show. Again, Spoelstra is basically the chess master of coaching, and how he continues to just make this team evolve and believe and chip away and have them play aggressive basketball is just amazing to behold. But this Denver team is well rested. They're loaded. They're healthy. And they got to figure a way on 3 days rest, 2.5 maybe, and a practice session in between, and all the footage that they're going to watch, how they're going to, in a hostile Denver home court advantage moment in game 1 this Thursday. They got to figure out how they're going to make it happen. On semi-tired legs, higher altitude, because they're going to be in Denver, Colorado. So that's going to be a big thing. It's completely different air temperature in Miami, because I've been in both places, in Colorado and in Miami, and the air is completely different, especially when you are coming off of a short time coming from a very hard, tough fought series. How much of the gas you got in the tank with that? Because looking at their faces when they were doing the trophy presentation, and I look at the contents of it, and I'll be quick about it. They looked exhausted. They looked relieved, and they looked exhausted. And they have to figure out how they're going to get this energy back by Thursday at tip-off.
Yeah, facts. I mean, the high altitude, Ben, it's, if anyone, running on that, it takes about a good 2 weeks to be able to get your lung capacity to a point where it's normal versus when you're not at high altitude, essentially. There's reasons why, like NFL teams, when they come to my beloved Denver Broncos and play, they have to come a couple days earlier. And I think that's going to be a factor, Marissa. I think you made a very good point. But
I wanted to say, too, Jeff, the thing that the end on there is that, was it a ballsy move for Miami to book tickets to go straight to Denver? Of course, because that was a power flex. But they went to Denver behind the scenes and found out the reason being is because they wanted to get used to the altitude early. They didn't want to wait to the next day to fly out early. They left after they went in the locker room, after they had the press. They all boarded the plane and immediately went to Colorado.
Hey, all good points. All very, very excellent points. But Ben, what are your thoughts? And then Gary, we'll get you in here.
Yeah, so we were talking about home court. Denver, partially the talent, partially the elevation. They are 7-0 in the playoffs at home. So there is a real home court for them. I wanted to circle back real quick to their series against the Lakers, because we were talking conference finals a little bit. So their two superstars against the Lakers, Murray, 33 points per game. Jokic against the Lakers, 28 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, 14 assists per game. And Jokic has the most triple-doubles in playoff history in any one playoffs, and he could still get more. And that's, by the way, passing Wilt Chamberlain. Anytime you pass Wilt Chamberlain in anything, that's just amazing as it is. So he's averaging 30, 13, and 10 for the playoffs. To the series, the finals, first off, there's a myth or a common narrative that a team that rusts is going to be rusty and they're going to lose. Well, the teams with 5 or more days of rest and home court in the NBA Finals are 8-1. So that hasn't impacted any of those great teams. And then kind of as far as what to watch for in the series, how much time does Jimmy Butler guard Jamal Murray? Especially in close games in the fourth quarter, does he take that assignment and he able to, limit him or at least bother him? I wrote down, can Miami hit enough threes? Because let's just be honest, they're just not as talented, and they're probably going to have to get hot from threes in a couple of these games because, to make up for the talent kind of disparity. And, you mentioned them already, but between Strus, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, they're all going to have to be hot. They're all going to have good series. I mean, they have so far, but it's a little bit asking a lot for 4 undrafted players. I know they're all playing great, but 4 undrafted players to be great in the NBA Finals. That's a lot to ask to me.
Yeah, and Gary, Bruce Brown, we got to give some love to Bruce Brown. I mean, because I think he is an assassin coming off the bench. Miami hasn't played a well-oiled team like Denver all season. Everyone's healthy. The road to the finals for Miami, there's been some type of, I guess you could say there's been some type of asterisk in some sense that, okay, Jason Tatum with the ankle injury, Robert Williams missed 42 games. When they played the game against, when they played Milwaukee, it was clear that Giannis wasn't the same. I know that he had missed some games, right? But now they're playing a juggernaut and a Denver team that is rested, completely healthy, and arguably has, I think, the best player in the league right now in Joker. I'm going to say Joker is probably right now the best player in the league right now.
Absolutely.
He's at least the best player in the playoffs for sure. To your point, this is going to be one of those series where, yes, Miami's going to have to get hot. And really, Jimmy Butler cannot afford 5 for 21, 7 for 23. Like he has to be more efficient with his shooting. And if this is going to be anything to resemble a series, I know what we're going to go with our predictions in the end. So I'll save it for that point. But this will be a short series if he doesn't pick up the efficiency scoring wise. And Bam Adebayo, he's going to have to make a choice. Either they're going to have to let him be a more offensive minded player, take Joker off the dribble and try to score around him and try to tire him out that way. Or he's going to have to use all of his energy to tire Joker out on the defensive end. He can't play both because that's not going to be conducive to Miami being successful long-term in this series. You said all the undrafted players. Listen, at this point, for them, Miami's playing with house money because nobody expected – they were 10 minutes away from their season being over at the start of these playoffs in the playing game.
Yeah.
At this point – this is why, when everybody's like, oh, we should be worried, even though they came back from even though Boston came back from being down 0-3, there was this level of, all right, Miami still got it. Let's not worry about it. Miami still got it. And even with the heartbreak of Game 6, momentum should favor Miami. But I think, to your point, Jeff, it's a different home court advantage in Denver. And the fact that they're well rested and healthy, I can't see Miami going in and winning Game 1. Game 2 can be a completely different story, but I think this is going to be a runaway for game, at least on a Game 1 perspective. And I think the streak of triple doubles will continue. And I know you said he has to be a 40-point scorer. I'm like, listen, he'll give you a 40-point triple-double if he needs to.
Yeah. But to Jeff's point, his 53, I believe it was, against the Suns was a loss.
That was against the Suns.
That's what I'm saying. They have to. And you think about Minnesota. And you think about when Minnesota stole a game, right? He went off for more than 35 points in that game, but he didn't have a triple-double in that game. They won that game because they let him go off and they shut down everybody else.
Right.
I think Spoelstra's going to have to find a way to exploit that. But
it's the old argument for back when LeBron was in his prime. Let him get his.
Yeah.
Shut down everybody else. But guys, let's just any more final rebuttals. Let's just go real quick, 30 seconds apiece. Ben, Marissa, Gary, on your finals predictions. Just real, 30 minutes. You guys have the floor. Ben, go ahead. What is your pick?
I got Nuggets in 6.
Okay. I respect that. Marissa?
Nuggets in 5.
Okay, Gary.
Not today.
I'm on the fence. I'm going to, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for it. Heat in 6.
You're going Heat in 6.
I'm going to go for it.
Oh no, I think the Nuggets are going to sweep.
Oh,
I just think the Nuggets.
If the Nuggets win, I don't think it's going to be on the road. I think it'll be a home game.
They'll get maybe one game, and I'm not trying to knock them out, but I've looked at and the only reason why I mention that this Heat team is there's always been, again, respect to the Heat for what they're doing, but we still have to call the facts. Like the Milwaukee team that they beat was not a full healthy Milwaukee team. Again, still give them respect. The second round, it's the Knicks. I mean,
at some point, Magic was going to run out there.
Right. It's the Knicks. Do you really trust Julius Randle? Right. No. And then they go and they play a Boston team where Robert Williams missed 42 games. Then Jason Tatum hurts his ankle. I mean, those factors I think matter, right? And then they had a new coach that didn't even have literally several days before training camp started. Joe Mazzulla didn't even have a full season. So again, not take anything away. Now they have a Denver team that is experienced, that has continuity, and that's played together for about 5 years. So I think those things matter. So I think Denver is going to sweep. There, I said it. Denver's going to sweep. But let's get to our next fun one. And Ben, I know sports trivia is your thing, so I'm going to pass over the host baton to you because I know how much you love sports trivia. So you're my co-captain on this one. Take it away, sir.
All right. So we're going to kind of do this quick. We all got one question. We're all going to pick on somebody else and ask them the question. Since you gave me the ball, I'll lead the way. I got a trivia question, and I'm asking you, Marissa. So the question is, what player is the only baseball player ever to have three seasons of 60 home runs or more?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. 60 home runs or more?
Mm-hmm. 3 times. He's
Three
the only
straight.
player not three straight.
Oh, okay.
So only one player has had 60 or more 3 times.
That's a good one. The only person that will always come to my mind, because I'm just a Tigers fan and just because I'm sad that he's leaving and I'm going to see him here in Texas in the next several weeks, the only person I can think of is Miguel Cabrera.
So
I know I'm way off base.
No, it's cool. It's cool. No worries. Most people would say Bonds, McGuire. Oh, sorry. Someone else want to answer?
Lou Gehrig? I'm just guessing. Lou Gehrig?
No.
I'm guessing Sammy Sosa.
Gary's got it. Sammy Sosa.
Oh, nice.
He's like the Notre Dame is a sportsman. He's like
I'm just like I had to think about it. I'm like, he's the only one and we don't talk about it anymore, which is unfortunate. But yes, that was the thing. Yes. All
right. So, Marissa, why don't you go next? You got a trivia question? Ask
I
somebody.
do.
Pick something.
That was good. Good. Let's go. All right. Gary, you'll get this one because you're just a genius. Or otherwise, if you don't, it's going to be like your T-shirt that you're wearing. Not today. All right, so we have a 1 and an 8 matchup happening starting Thursday, June 1st. Who is the lowest seed to ever win the NBA Finals?
That'd be the 95 Houston Rockets, 6 seed.
Let's go, sir. Let's go.
Couldn't even give anyone a good God, Gary.
Right. Gary, it's pigmentation.
Once he said the 60 or more home runs, I'm like, oh yeah.
To be fair, Marissa, they both heard that question before, which is why I couldn't ask that.
Hold on.
Back when we were doing trivia like almost weekly, I definitely asked that question.
Asked it.
I forgot.
So
I mean, we did a lot of trivia back in the day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can forget that.
But Gary, keeping it rolling, trivia question, go pick someone.
Okay, fine. Ben. So the Miami Heat 44 wins have the fewest number of wins for a conference champion in a long, long time. Which team has the fewest number of wins for a conference champion?
Oh, that's a good
Am
one.
I going to say Cleveland Cavaliers in 2007?
Incorrect.
No,
They won 50 games.
they had a bunch. Yeah, no, they were a bad team to make the finals, but
They won 50 games. So like,
yeah.
Yeah.
LeBron, those teams, LeBron's Cavs teams from back then always were like the 1 or the 2 seed, and then didn't win the playoffs. Lowest. Wow.
Was it okay? Was it before?
It's
No.
definitely not. It's definitely not the only other 8 seed, the Knicks, because that's a strike season, so that can't count.
no.
Yeah, you definitely got me. I don't know.
Oof,
Can I give you a hint?
Okay.
They played your Celtics in the finals.
Definitely not my Celtics. I do live in Massachusetts, but played your Celtics in the finals.
Oh, if they're not your Celtics in that.
No, it's all
That's
good.
a terrible hint. Okay.
Yeah.
It would be, all right, I'll
Go
give
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It is the Houston Rockets. In 1981, they are the only team to make the finals with a losing record. They were 40-42.
I was just gonna say. I was about to- wow, that's crazy. That's
Okay.
nuts. That's a good one.
That's a good one, Gary.
Ooh.
Jeff, I guess we saved the best for last. Trivia.
Okay.
What you got?
All right. So a little bit of college football here.
Okay.
So after leading the University of Wisconsin in tackles for loss and winning the Ronnie Lott Award in 2010, which defensive player was drafted by the Houston Texans and became popular across the NFL? His name was Electric Power.
JJ Watt.
JJ Watt.
Yeah.
That was too easy. Okay.
Yeah, that was too,
Oh my God,
that was too easy.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Okay.
leave
The
this
last
on
part,
there.
I was like, it sounds like
See,
JJ
Jeff-
Watt. It
see,
smells
the
like
thing
JJ Watt.
The things was Jeff is so excited for the what ifs. You just let me just ask an easy trivia question.
No, I just listen. Look, there's just so many. Like I had to Google this stuff here. Like I had to go from easy to hardest, and I shouldn't have said Electric Power. I shouldn't have said that. That was a giveaway. That was a giveaway.
You said the Texans in 2010. I was like, well,
Yeah.
Well,
The Texans and defensive player.
Okay. Okay. Great. So shall we go to the what ifs? Or shall we do
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So the what ifs. This is probably one of my favorite ones. Okay, Ben. I get really excited about the biggest what ifs here. This
What
one's
ifs
going
are
to be
always a fun topic. Always.
This one is going to be a good one. And for my picks, I think I'm going to go a little bit more modern, but we're going to go to you, Marissa, first. What is your
Oh, don't go to me first because I'm like still trying to figure out my what if.
Okay. All right. Well, Gary, I'll go to you first, buddy. What is
All right. So
one you today?
I do have one, and it's based off of an article from The Athletic in 2020. During the pandemic, reading all these different articles and trying to stay sane. There was this weird rumor that happened around, let's say, 95, 96, that Magic Johnson was considering a comeback, but he wasn't considering a comeback with the Lakers. He was considering a comeback with the New York Knicks. My question to you is, what would that Knicks roster look like with Magic Johnson on it?
Oh.
This is the mid-90s, so right before Pat Riley left, this was at least it was discussed because he came back, played a little bit 92, 93, took the time off coach, but was still young and still wanted to contribute. And he was doing workouts with Pat Riley, and they went to the Lakers with the trade, and the Lakers said no, obviously. So
That's a really good one. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that, to be honest with you. I just learned something. That would be over under how many wins with that roster constructed do you think they could have won?
Their regular season wins record is 60. They would have surpassed that. I know that. I don't know. I wouldn't go any higher than maybe 65, but I know their records for wins in a season is 60 wins. I think they would have gotten at least 63 or 64 out of that roster.
Okay. Huh. That's an interesting one. I'll definitely have to sleep on that one. That's a good one. Definitely a good one. Huh. Okay. Throw a little bit of curveballs out there. Okay. All right. Gotcha. And thanks for sharing the article there.
That's
Ben,
good. I didn't even know that one. Wow. I'll write that down.
The very landscape of the NBA would have just how different that would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben, so we're going to do two each, right? Okay, Gary, what's your second one, and then we'll keep this thing going here.
What if the Seattle Mariners would have won the World Series in 2001? If they would have been the team to disrupt the Yankee dynasty, because you look at that team, or better yet, what if they would have kept everybody leading into 2001? You would have had a Randy Johnson, A-Rod, Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro, Jay Buhner, like Edgar Martinez. Like, imagine that roster going up in a 7-game series against the Yankees in the ALCS. Like, that Mariners team is perhaps the greatest what if in baseball, because they burned through that regular season and
tied for the most wins for a regular season, 116.
I would say them and the Oakland A's are two of the most disappointing teams that have had that.
Yes, they are. Seasons. My God.
The Oakland A's. What was that? That's when they had what year? I'm trying to think of what year that was with just both those teams.
Giambi, Eric Chavez was like their third baseman. Yeah.
I mean that's just I don't know. We'll see. I mean, every time I go to Mariners game, they always talk about that team every single time. If I don't hear at least once a month, they always talk about just what if. Well, you didn't do it. Get over it. Respectfully. Good ones, Gary. Good ones, Gary. But Ben, go ahead.
So this one involves the Yankees and the Red Sox. Alex Rodriguez was traded to the Red Sox initially.
Yeah, 2006.
And in that trade, Manny Ramirez was gone. Manny Ramirez, can't even say his name. Manny was in the trade, and the Red Sox were going to get Alex Rodriguez. Of course, the amazing commissioner, God rest his soul, Bud Selig, basically vetoed that trade. And
when did Bud Selig die? Hold on.
Bud Selig didn't die.
I think he's still with us, but I think he killed the commissioner of baseball.
Maybe so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just gonna check that real quick. Keep going though. Keep going.
Fact check.
We don't want to kill anybody. Don't want. No, Bud Selig is still with us.
He's pretty old though. He's 88.
Oh yeah,
Ben, you trying to kill him off?
No, he's 88. No. Admittedly, he's 88 years old. Yes, but we don't want to kill anybody. He is still with us,
and we hope he stays with us for a long time.
Right on.
But obviously, Alex Rodriguez went to the Yankees, and the Yankees had, the other thing that's part of that is that whole Varitek and A-Rod, which is actually in our intro, that never would have happened. Because, arguably, they wouldn't have done that as teammates. They would have been on the Red Sox. Huh?
No, they probably would have been the dugout.
Yeah, probably. But that's and how does that kind of alter the? That was my first one. And then if we go to number 2, talking about favorite teams or favorite players, biggest what ifs, I think this is pretty predictable. The Cowboys, I probably don't need to have to say the rest of it. Des Bryant. That catch or non-catch in Green Bay in the playoffs. To be fair, Aaron Rodgers still had about 4 minutes. Game wasn't over, but definitely would have been a big momentum shift. And we've also seen Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs when he needs to score, and most of the time doesn't score. So I'm pretty confident Dallas would have won that game. They would have went to Seattle for the NFC Championship game the next week, and they had won, not saying they would have won that game, but they had a good chance to. they had won in Seattle in the regular season. So they would have had that confidence of, we've already won in Seattle and we just beat Aaron Rodgers. That's obviously we'll never know, but that was arguably Tony Romo's best chance at a Super Bowl. You know, whether he caught it or not, it's up for debate. But obviously by rule or how they ruled it, he didn't catch it.
Facts. Hey, that's a very good one. A good one. Oh, don't know what happened to Marissa there. Okay, well, she may be back. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulty. So I'm going to go before she comes back on. I'm just going to throw this one out there because this one has been talked about. What if RG3 never got hurt? You know, like you just – I know I'm going a little bit off agenda here, but that one, when I was looking it up, I'm like, what if he never got hurt?
What if Washington never played him in that playoff game before he tore his ACL, which he clearly never should have been playing, or after a quarter or a half, they should have seen how he was moving and basically how he wasn't moving and taken him out. He was limping severely, and that was before he tore his ACL. So Washington plays a little bit of role in that. He should have not been out there, you know, definitely in the second half of that game.
All right, like you think like maybe RG3 called Lamar Jackson like, hey, listen, you don't want to go through what I had to go through, right? Do you think that maybe the whole RG3 situation maybe kind of played into the calculus of Lamar Jackson a little bit, Gary?
I think it has to. We often talk about the plight of the black quarterback and everything throughout time. And, you know, I think RG3 became the cautionary tale for the mobile quarterbacks. Like, you know, but I think there's also a flip side of that where they look at that and they look at Mike Shanahan and how he, you know, ran him into the ground and kind of ruined him too. So I think there's a level of like, it's opened more thought to it from both sides. I think prior to that, you know, the example was Mike Vick, and Mike Vick went to jail for a couple of years, and that kind of ruined the reputation on that end. And you look at Don McNabb and the, you know, just how effective he was after a certain point, and just, you know, like, so RG3 was in the neck, was kind of in the line of succession before we got to Lamar Jackson. And we're seeing that he's injured now, but we don't know what we're going to, you know, see from him going forward. But you're right. Had RG3 not gotten hurt, I think the door would have been blown wide open and opportunities have been there from the jump.
Facts. Marissa?
Sorry about that, gentlemen. My battery decided to give up. All right, so I think about this often. My amazing Pistons fans think about this often. Y'all know exactly where I'm going because we're still disgruntled this many years later. The 2003 Pistons roster, along with the Pistons draft, we were number 2 that year. All the wonderful, incredible talent. One of them that just recently retired, which is Carmelo Anthony. LeBron James is the only one left. Obviously, he went number 1. So surely, Joe Dumars, former player of the Detroit Pistons, 2-time NBA champion Detroit Pistons, surely he would go and make a wise decision and get Carmelo Anthony at this pick. What if the Pistons, with a fully loaded roster, we got Chauncey Billups, we had Rasheed Wallace, we had Rip Hamilton.
Hey, Marissa.
What if?
I was just going to say, I'll make you feel slightly better. It's not the worst NBA draft decision. Portland Trailblazers did it twice.
Yep, you're right.
With Durant,
Donde está Greg Oden?
Could have had Durant. Could have had Michael Jordan. 2 biggest draft mistakes in of any sport. You could have had Kevin Durant, and you could have had Michael Jordan.
I think about, you know, and I forgot to mention Ben Wallace, Big Ben Wallace. I think about how many championships more with Larry Brown as the coach, because Larry Brown knew the fraudacity of Darko Milicic. He knew. That's why he took a risk and a gamble and made the 5 starting. And we were that team that went through a very tough Lakers-led team by Kobe Bryant and ended up going to the NBA Finals and winning it. I always think about if we would have got Carmelo Anthony, 1, how effective the Pistons team, that roster would have been, and 2, how many championships we would have won with him on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
I mean, he definitely would have won at least 2.
I think so too.
Right, just with him, even though he wasn't in his prime yet. I mean, to even have him coming off being your 6th option, I mean, you probably have to start him. Someone would have to. Let me just throw one quick question: who would you bench if you drafted Carmelo Anthony? Who would start?
See, I thought about that too because we had Sheed and we had Rip and we had Chauncey. I mean, you can't bench those 2. And then we had Tayshaun Prince, who went during that same draft at number 16. I think about that too. Who would I bench? You know, to this day, I
would say Sheed just because he was so amazing as a 6th man at different parts of his career. So I would say Sheed would be the easy choice.
Would be the one. Yeah.
You also know mentally, he's just like, I just ball. And
then that's what he was. He's just going there. He's like, I just ball. That's what it was. I mean, he walked in aggressive. He played aggressive. He talked aggressive. Like he was Draymond before Draymond. Yeah. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, and I loved everything about that. I loved it. Like it was like sprinkles of the bad boy era onto that 2004.
You got him at the trade deadline too.
He was Draymond with a longer rap sheet, basically.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Mm-hmm. What's your second one, Marissa?
I go back to 1999 of the New York Knicks being in that finals, and they had Starks. They had, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. They had Ewing, Oakley.
Ewing, I thought that was going to be Ewing didn't play.
He didn't play.
Probably Allen Houston, Charlie Ward, Chris Childs.
Yes.
Yeah,
I go back and I reflect on that team, and I remember watching them. Yes, I'm telling on my age audience. I remember watching them, and to this day, I look at them and I was like, what could they have done to actually shock the world and win the championship? Would it have been anything that they could have done? No. Because the way that they bullied in the Eastern Conference Finals to get to the point to the NBA Finals, and I know their opponent was tough. I mean, hello. But yeah.
Pre-prime Tim Duncan. He wasn't even
pre-prime. Like that was the beginning stages of Duncan.
Second year Tim Duncan.
Yeah. MVP Tim Duncan. Like I look at
Towers, David Robinson and Duncan.
I find myself sometimes looking at old footage of NBA games and look at Reggie Miller and him still sticking with the Pacers at the time, even though he could have went somewhere else and tried to win a ring, but he didn't. And I look at this team of the New York Knicks, and I mean, Tim Duncan was a sight to behold. I mean, obviously, we witnessed that years into his career, all the way up to when he retired. But I look at that team and I just wonder. I was like, what in the world what piece were they missing to actually have gone, the 8th seed that they were to made history and to win that title?
I think
because the way that they played in the Eastern Conference Finals, I knew there would be a challenge going against a San Antonio Spurs the way that they were. And then we saw literally the coming out party of Tim Duncan before. So, leading up to, the NBA Finals and just how he handled the pressure of helping lead that team, winning the MVP. But I often ask myself with one of those talented teams, what was the thing that they were missing that could have made them win it? The whole thing.
With that next team, and I also forgot to mention Larry Johnson because he was obviously huge under that too.
Shout out to UNLV.
Yes, Running Rebels. Yes. I guess if Patrick Ewing was healthy in that series, perhaps it would have been pushed more than 5 games. I still think that San Antonio was clearly the better team and was going to win that championship regardless of whoever came out the East. Like I was very clear about that. Like whoever came out the East wasn't beating them. But I think a healthy Patrick Ewing would have pushed that series more than 5 games because they had the squad to shock the world. But that you couldn't put up Tim Duncan and David Robinson versus Larry Johnson, who had a bad back, and a young Marcus Camby.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That
If you
wasn't-
had Patrick Ewing, you would have had
a fighting chance. You would have had a fighting chance. You would have at least won more than one game in that series.
Mhm.
But in all fairness, San Antonio was going to win that championship. They were destined to
Yeah.
do so, because if not, Greg Popovich would have been fired. The NBA would have looked so vastly different than it does now.
Mhm. Oh,
All good
agreed.
points. All good points. And I'm just going to throw one more out there, and then Gary, we'll get a grabs and we'll conclude here. What if Deshaun Watson was drafted by the Bears and not going to
To the
Kansas
Texans.
City? Right? Like, do we think Pat Mahomes would have been the quarterback that he is today? Right? You think about situations. There's no guarantee that Pat Mahomes would have been Pat Mahomes going to the dysfunctional Bears. I'm sorry. Just like Tom Brady, if he hadn't gone to the Patriots and fallen into his right situation, probably wouldn't be Tom Brady. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
What if Brett Favre stayed with the team? What did he get drafted by the Atlanta Falcons?
Falcons. Yep. Mhm.
What if Eli Manning went to San Diego? Like, there's a lot of those. Like,
Yeah, prime example. But all good stuff. But hey, let's get this thing wrapped up here. Gary,
I like this segment. Thank you.
Yes, we definitely have to keep going. I love it. Gary, what is your gripe for today, sir?
I need to care more about hockey. If you notice in the first segment, I really said absolutely nothing about it. And the reason why is not because I dislike hockey or anything. I'm not a fan of the cold, no, but like, I want to care more about hockey. Granted, I live in New York. The Rangers are the best team in the city and all that. And even though they lost in the first round, see, that I do remember or do know. But like, I need somebody to take this next offseason and help turn me into a true hockey fan. You know, I may not go to all the games because, again, not a fan. I'm a June baby, not a fan of the cold. So, like, maybe not all the games, but I want to care more. People here, people watching, people listening. Help Gary care more about hockey.
Okay, we should start a hashtag of that on Twitter. We should help Gary out. All right, I love it. You know, listen, there's just so many damn sports to keep track of.
I think that's the other problem too.
There's just too many. And
Gary, you don't have more time. Is that what you're saying? You don't have more time?
I have 2 children. My time's already occupied as much as humanly possible.
Shout out to you, man.
I let you make the kid joke.
Shout out to
I was
you.
going to say it, but I'm like, you know what? He's going to say it. So I just let him have
it'd
it.
be facts, though. It'd be facts. But guys, it was great. It was great to get back at it again. Episode 85.
Good stuff, y'all.
86. We're on 86.
86.
Yes.
Almost at 100.
It says it
we're
at the
almost
top.
at
You know, it
100.
does say episode 86. You know, there's a little, clue right there at the top.
But I'm excited to announce that we'll be doing a very special baseball special on this Thursday. Got a very special guest that will be hopping on. We're going to be talking about the state of the MLB, talking about the different rules, talking about all the different prospects. If you have noticed, there's a rush for all these prospects to get moved up to the MLB, and a lot of them just kind of cratered. So really just want to talk about that. Really excited to get that one going. And then we'll be back here next week for episode 88. So Marissa, Gary, Ben, appreciate y'all. Love all you guys. And so for all of our fans and shout out to Evan again for coming on the show. Love that you've been able to watch.
Shout
Good
out to
luck
Evan.
your Panthers. Yes, good luck to your Panther because y'all going to need it. But hey, peace and love, everyone. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace and love. Take care.